This is the plaintiff, Louise Celentano. She says she's been a waitress for 20 years, and the defendant hired her to serve guests at a party she was having in her house. After working like a dog for 5 hours, the defendant told her she was done for the night, then refused to pay her for her services. She was outraged. The party was a huge success, and there's no way she's going to allow this woman to get away with not paying her the $135 she's rightfully owed. This is the defendant, Gina Bronstein. She says the plaintiff walked into her home and started copping an attitude right from the get-go. She was also a disaster in the kitchen, clogging up her sink 10 minutes before the guests were to arrive for the surprise party for her husband's 60th birthday. Bottom line, this woman damaged her property. She did a horrible job, and she refuses to give her a penny. She's accused of being a party pooper. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $261.21 for a clogged garbage disposal caused by the plaintiff.
All parties, please raise your right hand.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff worked the defendant's dinner party one night and says she got stiffed. The defendant is saying this woman was a one-woman wrecking crew. She ruined light switches, wrecked the garbage disposal, and she's not getting paid anything. It's the case of garbage in, garbage out.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome,
okay, Ms. Celentano and Ms. Bronstein. Ms. Celentano, you are suing for $135 that you say is owed to you for working on a party for her as a server.
Yes.
And that she refuses to pay you. Tell me what happened.
Right. So 15 minutes into me getting there, I was doing all the appetizer platters. Gina was cooking her meal, and she kept throwing like branches of rosemary and everything down her garbage disposal. The sink was all clogged. It was white from milk that she was cooking with. I asked her if I could put my hand down there and take the branches out, and she said, no, that's what a garbage disposal is for. So now the sink was clogged. I put the round top on. That's how her garbage disposal works. You turn it. It got stuck in there. It wasn't lined right because of not being able to see the bottom of the sink.
And so you put that little stop in, and then the way it's supposed to work, Ms. Bronstein, maybe you can help me out since it's your disposal. The way it's supposed to work is you twist it, and then the motor goes on, right?
Correct.
Okay. So you do that, and what happens? Apparently, it's put in wrong?
It wasn't lined right when I put it in because I couldn't see the bottom of the sink. So she started going crazy, and I said her son was coming. Her girlfriend said, wait till your son comes and he took it right out.
All right,
so
did you use the garbage disposal ever again that night?
Well, we tried, but it didn't work. I think it was jammed, like with all the stuff that she threw branches down there.
All right, so let's move on to the rest of the night. It's a buffet.
Okay. Yes, I served them salad. I poured water. They had appetizers in the living room. I poured them all champagne, passed it around, collect all the dishes, clean them all out. I didn't use the garbage disposal.
I got
you.
So then
the end of the night,
dessert
it's
time for dessert.
Yes.
All right.
So
and
now
the desserts,
I go.
Ms. Bronstein, were stored downstairs in a spare refrigerator in your basement, correct?
Yes, correct.
And was the light on, Ms. Celentano, or you had to turn the light on?
No, I went downstairs. Here was the light bulb. I don't know if you could see the light bulb.
That's not the actual light bulb. You're giving me a demonstrative aid, right? Okay.
So it's in a socket with a flimsy string attached to a little chain. When I pulled the string to put it on, because I was in the dark, the string came off.
Did you yank it?
No, it was a flimsy...
You just pulled it the way it was intended?
Yeah, to put it on, and I'm not going to be fixing strings. I have to serve the dessert, clean up. I got to be out of there.
All right, so I've got it. Did you tell her that had happened?
Yes.
You told her.
I brought up the string.
So it's now the end of the night, and, you brought up the string and showed her, hey, this came out of my hand.
Yes, I did.
What, did she seem mad when you did that? Did she seem mad?
No, in fact, after the garbage disposal incident, she came in and said she was sorry for acting the way she did.
All right, so now it's the end of the evening, and you expect to get paid your $135.
Yes.
And what happens?
So she said that she said, "Oh, I'll give it to you, whatever." And her son came over.
Wait, no,
She's
no.
not-
I'll give it to you when?
Listen.
She just said, "I'll give it to you." Our guests were leaving. She went out to, say her goodbyes or whatever. Her son wanted to Venmo me the money because he was on his phone. And she came over and said, "Absolutely not. No, no, no." That's when I knew I was going to have a problem with it. She said that it was Shabbos, which is a Jewish religion, but she is definitely not Orthodox. I work for a lot of Orthodox people. They don't run coffee makers, dishwashers, and everything else, or exchange gifts on Shabbos.
Okay, so the reason she gave you was that she couldn't handle money on Shabbat.
Right. Meanwhile, she was running
Ms.
the
Bronstein,
coffee maker and everything.
stop a second, Ms. Celentano. Ms. Bronstein, let me ask you a question. Tell me how the evening went.
The evening was mediocre because, number one, Ms. Celentano caused this garbage disposal to be jammed, which prevented us from using the sink, which is the only sink that I could use because I am kosher. And to prove that her story is absolutely fictitious, okay, I was serving meat and she claims I put milk down the sink. And anybody who knows about kosher knows that if you're serving meat, you do not put milk in the sink with the meat. That's number one. Number two, she walked in.
But let me ask you a question. Well, tell me what she did wrong, because you've decided you're not going to pay her a penny, and we'll get into how that developed in a second. But tell me what she did wrong, because if her action is to take the plastic, try to stick it in, and make the garbage disposal work, isn't that exactly what anybody would do to try to make the garbage disposal work? So what did she do wrong?
Well, clearly she didn't know how to operate this garbage disposal because she jammed it into the opening incorrectly. And when my plumber came and fixed it, he said that, what did somebody do here? They put the thing in wrong. I mean, luckily I didn't have to have the whole thing replaced. But if she didn't know how to operate it, she could have asked me to, or else I would have said, don't operate it, okay?
I guess what I'm not understanding is how many different wrong ways can you put it in that would cause a thing to break? In other words, you have to prove to me that if it broke because of what she did. And if she just sticks it in wrong, why would that cause it to break?
You know what? I can't answer the technical questions about the garbage disposal, but it was jammed.
And as it turns out, who ends up pulling out the cap successfully?
One of my guests, not my son.
All right. Let's move on to the light. So you go down, you break the light. What did she say?
She just took the string. That was it. I mean, it was a little string that hooks up to, no.
All right, so when you ask the son to pay you on Venmo, she gets mad because she doesn't want her son to handle money on...
He offered to pay me on Venmo. He offered to do it.
All right, so at the end of the night, what is it you tell her? At the end of the night, you tell her, I'll pay you after sundown tomorrow, correct?
At the end of the night, I tell her that I'm sorry, but the night got away because this was a surprise party, and that I was going to pay her, and I would send her a check, and she got upset and said to me, well, don't you have Venmo? Because, and I said, well, you know what? My son, I don't have Venmo, but my son has Venmo. So if you give him your information, he will Venmo you tomorrow night after sundown. And Louise went to my son.
Because that's when the religious restriction would end. So then after you tell her that, she goes to your son and she says, Venmo me now.
Correct.
And then you get upset.
And then I get upset because I see that she has told my son that I told her to tell him to do that. And I said,
got it.
And I went over, I saw
so Ms. Celentano, let me ask you a question. It's sundown the next day, all right? Do you text them and say, can I please have my Venmo payment, or what happens?
I texted her and I told her that I was going to be in Inglewood the next day, which would have been Sunday, if she wanted me to stop over and pick up my money. And she said that, no, absolutely not. If you come to my house, I'm going to call the police.
Hold on. On Saturday night, she just doesn't respond to you.
Right.
And
I wrote to her.
You text her again on Sunday morning at 8 a.m.
Yep.
Read me the text you send her Sunday morning at 8 a.m.
Okay, it said, Gina, I haven't heard from you about my fee of $135 for services on Friday. If I don't hear from you today, I'll be filing a police report and take you to small claims court.
So you work on Friday, you text her Saturday night, she doesn't answer, and on Sunday morning at 8 a.m., you're telling her that you're going to file a police report and sue her if she doesn't pay you at 8 a.m.
Yep, because I knew she wasn't paying
Ms.
me.
Bronstein, how'd that go over with you?
Like a lead balloon.
Welcome back to the People's Court. The plaintiff is saying she did a great job for the defendant's dinner party, got stiffed and wants the money. The defendant saying the plaintiff did so much damage, the nerve of her to ask for anything. Let's go back into the courtroom.
So what do? You then tell her, you broke all my stuff, it was horrible, and I'm not paying you.
No, I did not do that. I can read you the text that I responded with. I said, go right ahead. I will bring all the bills with me and counterclaim against you for all the damage you caused on Friday night. I intended to send you a check for $100 because I wanted to give you something, but your threats have me dumbfounded and upset at your lack of professionalism and integrity. If you dare come to my house, I will call the police and have you removed as a trespasser, Gina.
Okay, now. All right, Ms. Bronstein, so you end up having the garbage disposal repaired, and according to you, that cost you what?
The garbage disposal repair cost me $132.81.
And so I'm looking at what purports to be the bill for the garbage disposal, just typewriting on a piece of paper, but what purports to be the bill, and it says repaired jammed garbage disposal. It doesn't say anything about that little metal disc having done anything. It just says repaired jammed garbage disposal, correct?
Correct.
All right, now let's talk about the light. I also see the receipt for the light. It says repair broken light, right? So here's the thing. I have a server who's worked for you before. She's there a total of how many hours, Ms. Celentano?
Your
I
Honor.
stayed there 5 hours and 45 minutes just to help her
5
out.
hours working for you. According to you, because she broke the garbage disposal and because the string came out in her hand on a light bulb, you feel you shouldn't have to pay her. I disagree. I believe that when people work, they are entitled to get paid. I would have to see stronger evidence that she is the reason for the garbage disposal to not be working. I don't see that in the receipt that you submitted, nor in the facts that were talked about. And if I use the light bulb in a way it's intended, which is just to pull the string, and the string comes out in my hand, in other words, she didn't hit it with a baseball bat. She didn't hit it with a ladder when she was trying to get to something else. She literally pulls the chain and it comes off in her hand. How is it that she owes you for that repair? And how is it that that repair could ever be $128? It just doesn't work that way. I think what really happened, if we're honest, is that she annoyed you so much by sending you that nasty email on Sunday morning, not weeks later, but on Sunday morning, that you just kind of lost it and felt, you know what, she doesn't deserve a penny. I just don't see it the way you see it. I find in favor of the plaintiff in the amount of the $135 on her claim against you, and on your counterclaim against her, I find that you have not proven sufficiently that either of these two repairs are something that she caused by doing something negligent. That is my verdict. Good luck, ladies.
Well, the plaintiff prevails. She is finally going to get paid. Let's talk to the defendant, Gina Bronstein. Gina, what's your reaction to this? You lost totally everything.
My reaction to this is that the People's Court is a sham. I had a witness that I was never entitled to even bring before the court, nor did the judge allow me to speak.
What do you mean she didn't allow you to speak? You told your story. She gave you ample opportunity.
I have a witness, and that I've lived in this home for 26 years, and that string and that light was there for 26 years until Louise Celentano entered my house and pulled it off. And the fact that she doesn't think that I had to call all these people to make these repairs is absurd.
Well, listen, I think the judge thinks you're being very petty about a broken string, really. Let me ask you something else. You were really upset when she threatened to file a lawsuit against you. How'd you respond when you were sued?
I mean, a suit for $135 in small claims court doesn't rattle me.
By the way, you said you told her to put eggshells down the disposal. For the record, 2 days ago, a plumber told me that's a bad thing to do. Don't put eggshells down the disposer. Anyway, I'm sorry you lost. The plaintiff is finally going to get paid. You got to pay her the $135. Okay? Let's talk to the plaintiff now, Louise Celentano. Louise, was it hard for you to sue her? She was, an old customer of yours.
I've gone there once before, and I sent someone else, and the other woman said she did not want to deal with her. She was a very demeaning, controlling person, so I went myself.
You glad you sued her? You happy now?
Yes, it was just the point of everything. I worked like anything for over 5 hours with this lady. She was not an easy woman, believe me.
Well, bottom line, I doubt you get called back, but would you ever work for her again in the future?
Never, never, never.
Okay. Thank you very much. Congratulations. You're a winner in the People's Court.
Thank you so much.
Okay?
Thank you. Okay.
You're welcome. Now, let us join Judge Millian and her husband, Judge John, for another session of After the Verdict.
Well, Marilyn, I guess they said hell hath no fury like a homeowner scorned.
That's right.
And in this case, watching you make this decision, there are times as a judge when you're considering the evidence and you're hearing the testimony, and there's just this one pivotal moment where you watch everything kind of tip over and change from a garden variety dispute or disagreement between two people into a full-blown lawsuit.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that moment? And
Yeah,
fix it in
I'm
your mind?
sure you did too. What was it?
I think it was probably when the thermonuclear bomb email came flying in.
A text on Sunday morning at 8 a.m. saying, pay me or I'm going to sue you and call the cops. I mean,
Right.
it was such a nuclear response to being ignored the night before. And I realized that, I found in favor of the plaintiff. I know she was angry, but geez, when somebody's got something you want, give it a little bit of diplomacy.
Right. They say so often in life that outlook determines outcome, and certainly in lawsuits and in courtrooms, we see the same thing all the time.
Right.
And this is one of those circumstances where that outlook that's expressed in the email is just not very diplomatic, not
No.
very tactful, not very polite, and
Right.
look where you end up.
And I like to call that the anatomy of a lawsuit. Like you can exactly see the moment where everything went down the toilet.
Right.
And it was that 8 a.m. email, which was not the best idea because it's so much easier not to come to court. Court takes up your emotional capital. It takes up your time. It takes, money to file. She probably had to pay court costs, which of course, whenever you win, you get your court costs as well, probably in the same amount as the fees that were owed to her. So it's always better to avoid a lawsuit if you can avoid a lawsuit.
Right. Never worth the aggravation, is it?
Right, right. It's never about the money. It's
Right.
always about the principle. That's how small claims works.
Of course.
Cynthia, you can get a default judgment if the other person doesn't show, but they can set that default aside in some cases and get a second bite of the apple.